The culture of lawlessness that certain ALP politicians have used to achieve their political objectives has been most pernicious in the area of immigration. They kept our brothers and sisters from other Caribbean islands who came here to Antigua and Barbuda to seek a living in virtual bondage. Women in particular were defenseless victims. People dependent on work permits were shanghaied into impersonating voters who had been long deceased. All of this is well documented in the reports of international elections observers. There are reports that the opposition has registered large numbers of non-nationals in constituencies in which they are not eligible to vote. This could have serious consequences for persons involved in these arrangements. It is unconscionable of the ALP leadership to place our Caribbean sisters and brothers at such risk. I urge our brothers and sisters from other islands not to allow themselves to be used by unscrupulous politicians who care about nothing but personal political power. I was always concerned about the ALP's exploitation of non-nationals seeking landed status in Antigua and Barbuda. That was why I pledged to grant millennium citizenship to deserving applicants in 2004. I plan to take the naturalization process to the next level. An urgent priority for the second term is the establishment of the Naturalization Facilitation Unit. The Naturalization Facilitation Unit will make life much easier for new residents and guest workers. The Facilitation Unit will ensure that guest workers and new residents are not exploited. This is all part of the overhaul of the immigration process. We have to manage the manner in which large numbers of people come into the country to take up residence. The new immigration system is a work in progress. We do not want any repeat of the tragic Lee Malvo and John Mohammed fiasco, in which our immigration system was penetrated and figured prominently in international reporting on the serious sniper shootings in the United States. I will keep the nation posted on this program. On the issue of justice, certain politicians appear to be of the view that having lost power, they should not have the answer for any wrongs. They should not have to answer for any wrongs which they might be guilty of. Justice does not work that way. The punishment must fit the crime. You do the crime, you must do the time. Those who used the treasury must understand, for ill-gotten gains, must understand that they have to account for their stewardship. Now, brothers and sisters, there is only one statement that you can trust in the ALP manifesto. When in 2004, they said these 12 words. It was 12 words long and took up the whole of page 3 of the Red Manifesto. It was a quotation from the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. The statement was about change, and this is what it says. When it is not necessary to change, it is not necessary to change, unquote. Let me repeat that. When it is not necessary to change, it is not necessary to change. It was necessary to close the book on Asset Michael Lester Bird cabal in 2004. Antigua and Barbuda has come too far to turn back now. There is no room in the future of Antigua and Barbuda for that bunch of reprobates. There is no room in the future of Antigua and Barbuda, I repeat, for those reprobates. Those are biblical words. Lester Bird has been boasting that the Birds should be the individuals to run this country. But brothers and sisters, I want to say to you that they are a spent force. The Antigua Labour Party, led by Lester Bird, Asset Michael, and Gaston Brown, brothers and sisters, are a spent force. Brothers and sisters, they talk about 5 years ago, Antiguans and Barbudans had developed what he called, Lester Bird that is, bird fatigue. Surely he must know that his particular strain of bird fatigue was fatal bird fatigue. Lester Bird and his flock are running around like a swarm of crazy red ants in all sorts of propaganda gimmicks. They have been calling on the Prime Minister to call the election date. I caution them that they should be careful, that they might get what they're calling for. All I wish to say to them is that Antigua and Barbuda has gone too far to turn back now. After several years of declining growth rate, our country has enjoyed 4 successful years of growth with new jobs. The forecast is continued growth in 2009 despite what is happening, which somebody has called the year 2009 unshining as in sunshine. And Antigua and Barbuda now has the respect of the nations of the world. We have the trust and the support of powerful nations and our sister Caribbean nations. We have what it takes to overcome the challenges ahead. The reality for every generation living in this country and for generations yet unborn is that the Birds, the Asset Michaels, and members of their flock are no longer relevant. They have been as hopeless in opposition as they were in government. Do we have to beg them to set the people of this country free? Do we have to beg them to set the people of this country free? On Judgment Day, March 23rd, 2004, after 28 years, the Antiguan and Barbudan people threw off the yoke of the ALP. You could almost hear the nation exhale. And you could certainly hear the voices of the people all over our country saying, "Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we're free at last." I say that to you now. Let that freedom ring.